So for this Punnett square, these ones are the incomplete dominant Punnett squares. So remember from what we discussed in class, the way that you can identify these is that in the description, if you notice anything about any kind of blending of a certain characteristic, the easiest one to spot is color. So like, for example, if you mix yellow and blue, you'll get green because when you blend those together, you get that color. Another example could be red and blue. When you mix those together, you get purple. So for incomplete dominance, you're not seeing either of the traits being completely dominant over the other. You get something in the middle. You get a blend. So for this kind of Punnett square, we're going to be looking at SpongeBob and Patrick. They're going to go jellyfishing. And remember, we always use a highlighter to identify important information. I will be using pen so that you guys can see it clearly in the video, but use pencil please to avoid having scribbles and messy papers. So in the jellyfish problems, it says that we have a yellow and a blue color for the jellyfish, but sometimes they end up being green, and that is again because of incomplete dominance. Remember to always use the 5-step method. So if we take a look at number 1, it's asking you to write the correct genotype if for each jellyfish. If Y represents yellow, it's a capital Y, and if capital B represents blue. So notice that in incomplete dominance, we do not have any lower cases. Everything remains capital. But we do have 2 different letters or 2 different alleles that will tell us the color for this particular jellyfish. So remember, a genotype, those are your genes. You get one from mom, one from dad, so you need to have 2 letters for this. So if it's yellow and we're using the letter Y and you need 2 letters, this is going to be capital Y, capital Y. For blue, same concept, but now for the letter B, this is going to be big B, big B. For green, we do not introduce a new random letter. This is not going to be G. Remember, it's a blend between these 2. So we're going to take those 2 letters and combine them together. So depending on how you want to write it, it can be YB or BY. Whatever you do, just pick one and stick with it because you will confuse yourself if you try to mix it up. So now for our allele key, if we come down to question 2, first of all, let's highlight important stuff. So what would happen if SpongeBob crossed a blue jellyfish with the yellow jellyfish? So for our allele key, we're coming back to the information that was given at the top. Yellow is represented with the capital Y. Blue is going to be represented with the capital B. And for green, this is the only one where you need to have the 2 letters because there's no single letter by itself that will code for green. So I personally like to do things in ABC order, so I'm going to use BY throughout. So that's step 1. Step 2 is to find the genetic cross. So remember, that's to figure out what the parents are. Parent number 1 is a blue jellyfish. Well, if you look at number 1 up here, you've established that if it's a blue jellyfish, it's going to be big B, big B. Parent number 2 is a yellow jellyfish. Again, you've established up here that if it's yellow, it is big Y, big Y. So now for step 3 and 4 is to set up and do the Punnett square. So then you come here, make your little 4-pane window, your Punnett square. You take one parent, separate the letters and put it across the top. You take your second parent, separate the letters, put it across the side, and then you bring them together like you usually do. But remember, stick with what you want. So I've decided to go ABC order. So all of my boxes, because they're all going to have the same thing, they're all going to be BY. And now for our ratios, that's our step 5. I like to shorten it with Geno and Pheno to kind of save myself some space here. For this one, you need to include all possible combinations, not just what you see in the box. You have to include everything. So for us, the only one that we do see in the box, that's BY. But the other possible combinations in the jellyfish includes BB, that's a possible combination, as well as YY. So now for the ratios, remember, since we have 1, 2, 3, 4 boxes, if we do our ratios in fractions, all of the denominators are going to be 4 for the 4 boxes. So out of 4, how many of them are BY? For this one, it's going to be all 4. How many of them are BB? None, so that's going to be 0. How many of them are going to be yellow? None, so that's going to be 0. And now we have to figure out the phenotype for each of these genotypes. So if I have BY, I've already established that BY is going to be green, BB is going to be blue, and YY is going to be yellow. And then you just look at it again and notice, okay, all of them are going to be, well, first of all, for our ratios, that denominator is still 4. And then you look again and notice, okay, all of them are going to be green, so that's 4 out of 4 for green. None of them are going to be blue. None of them are going to be yellow, so that is 0 for both of those. And that's pretty much how you do the incomplete dominance. So some differences between this one and the classic Punnett square. There are no lower cases, and you have 2 different letters. Okay, thank you.